been working in the music uh, really my whole career. I started as an intern at a venue when I was in college because I wanted free tickets to the shows. So I put up posters for a while and transitioned out of that into marketing for venues, into festival marketing and production, artist management, talent management, kind of like the whole gamut of the music industry, except actually being on stage. And this was great. You know, my career was awesome. I loved what I was doing. And I also found that I was feeling very stressed. And I ended up taking a full year off. When I was 27, I went out of the country and I traveled for 1 year on my own. And during that time, I was introduced to all of these different types of meditation. I was doing a lot of Buddhist meditation in Asia, and I found a lot of peace and something that I had never really sort of felt before, sort of just that like okayness with being still. And when I got back from traveling, I was immediately planted right into New York City, and sort of the chaos of work and the world came upon me again. And I just found that I was not prepared to deal with it. I started feeling really stressed again, really burnt out again. And I knew that I had to kind of figure out a way to stay in this world that I loved, but do it in a way that felt healthy to me and felt true to me. And so I started kind of bringing back some of the stuff I'd learned in meditation when I was traveling, and started sort of exploring it deeper, trying different styles of meditation. And I just realized that it was going to be my secret weapon. It was going to be the thing that allowed me to keep doing the things that I loved. And so it really stemmed out of a personal practice. I haven't really missed more than a day or so in the last couple of years. And it's sort of like my rock. It's the thing that keeps me steady. And so a couple of years ago, I just felt really called to start sharing it, because I'd had a lot of misconceptions around it. And once I realized what it was and how simple it was and how easy it was and how impactful it could be, I just knew that part of the reason I was here was to share this with other people. And so I teach now with a big focus on music industry, on creatives, on high performers, entrepreneurs, creatives, the people who need their cup filled just as much because they're filling everyone else's. So that's kind of how I got here. It was out of, a personal need that I realized serves a bigger need. And I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Just for context for everybody watching. So like everything that Emily just listed in the beginning, like talent management, live production, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. She still does all that shit while also like actively healing nearly anyone she comes in contact with. So it's giving Zen, it's giving Wusa. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hill, same question.
Well, I'll say I've become more of a superhero since meeting Emily, so thank you. My origin story is in global health and nonprofits. I grew up in North Carolina. Both of my parents are nurses. I had some of the best access to healthcare in the world, and really saw that disparity firsthand when I was working on a project in Uganda the year before I went to college. So I was 17 and went over there and just recognized like the big difference in how they were accessing healthcare and how I was able to at home. So access to healthcare has kind of always been my why. And I've worked in a variety of global health nonprofits. I did 4 years at Global Citizen in New York City, which combines the power of music and advocacy against poverty and different criteria for sort of ending extreme poverty, including vaccines and women and girls and sanitation. When I left Global Citizen, I also left New York with a handful or more, probably a bucket full of friends that worked in the music industry, artists, crew, venue staff, and went on to start a consulting firm that connects businesses and bands with nonprofits, making sure that they have a translator between them, building campaigns and messaging, making sure that your favorite bands can support causes that are close to them and that their fans know that and can support as well. So I've been doing the consulting work under the brand level for 5 years now. And 2.5 years ago, my music community was hit directly with the mental health crisis that I think affects every industry and walk of life at this point. The music industry has a lot of factors that make it much more challenging than a lot of other industries. It's really hard to find resources that work, particularly for people that are touring. And so faced with losing our friends and some incredible musicians, my community decided to come together and create a solution, which is Backline. Backline is a mental health and wellness resource, free to access for anyone in the music industry as well as their family members. It is really connecting people with resources that will go with them on the road, with providers that understand this line of work, really digging deep to make sure that anybody in the music industry can access really critical mental health services that are affordable and appropriate for wherever they might be. And one of the joys of that work is that we have found Emily, who has been teaching our Backline community to meditate for over a year now. I had the privilege of learning how to meditate with her over Zoom during the pandemic. It has been a game changer for me, and I'm really excited that we are continuing that. I know your next course is coming up next week, and we have some more of our community signed up already to take that. So it's been one of my favorite things that we're offering to the community because it's free. It's inside you. All you have to do is carve out some time in the day. And that's been huge for me and something that I see a lot of changes happening in me and my employees and everybody else. So I'm really excited to have this conversation.
I think you both sort of touched on what led you to mental health work professionally. I'd like to talk a little bit about what led you individually as people personally to get to your point where you had to say to yourself, oh shit, something's got to change, something's got to give, I need help. What do I do? Emily first. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
I was like, she's already unmuted. Yeah, for me, it was really the way that I was feeling stress was feeling very unsustainable. I have always been a very sort of high achiever, high performer. I love to get things done. I'm like in what people would call my masculine energy a lot. I'm like doing things, I'm producing, I'm bringing things to life, I'm going a million miles. And I was finding that the way that I was responding to all the incoming stress in my life was in a way that was sort of snappy and impatient, and I wasn't sleeping well. I was just feeling like I was sort of like this red hot poker that was just walking around at all times, and any little thing that would hit me would just like send me off. And I was doing sort of like good work, like I was getting things done, but it just wasn't feeling as good as I knew it could feel. And when I was sort of relaxing in my off time, I didn't feel relaxed. I like felt guilty for resting. I had a hard time slowing down, and I had a really hard time just like being still with no distractions. I would find that's when my anxiety would creep up. That's when I would start to feel worried about things. And I didn't want to just feel sort of like so uncomfortable in my life all the time. And so I think that's kind of what led me. I was not sleeping great. And I also have a long history of digestive issues, which through work with certain doctors, I have discovered are also linked to stress and the way I was dealing with stress. And so it was kind of just like a full body, like there's a better way. And I had always been really into health, exercise, like healthy eating. I love to cook for myself. I also love to like go out and dance. Like I have this sort of like balanced lifestyle where I like doing healthy things and I like doing things that are just fun and good for me in other ways. And have found pretty good balance like within my body. And I was just feeling like that balance and that equilibrium in my mind was just not there. And I felt like there was going to be a lot more opportunity for me if I could figure out a way to feel more balanced. So really that's what took me, is just like craving just like more calmness, like more space in my own head, and figuring out how to make that a reality.
Cool. Hilary, what about you?
My mental health journey started pretty early. I think I was like 14 when I was diagnosed with depression. But it was very clinical at that point, and I think stayed that way for about 10 years of like, you have depression, you can go to therapy. I was prescribed antidepressants for a while. And I don't think that my journey with mental health really started until I was 23 or 24, kind of had gone off the antidepressants at that point in time and was just kind of looking for more. Like, okay, I have a great job, I have great friends, I love where I live, but there's, this piece missing. And for me, that piece now I recognize is mindfulness. And my mental health journey still changes often. In fact, it's changing right now in terms of what is working for me right now. And Lo, you're one of my support systems now. And a month ago, I was like at rock bottom again. It was like, okay, I run a mental health org. Like, I know that, walking and meditation and all of these things that I do are good for me, but it's not filling my cup. What is? And I think mindfulness really has helped me to like be constantly taking that inventory and recognizing that like, HIIT workouts were really my mental health juice for a long time. They don't do that for me anymore. Maybe it's slower and steadier. Maybe it is seeking joy, going out dancing, like whatever those pieces are, but it's constantly changing. And I think really my most powerful medicine now is the ability to spend time with self and take inventory and sort of check in on what I'm doing, how I'm feeling, and what I might need to add or subtract. So I will say my mental health journey started a long time ago, but it's always switching up on me. And I think being at peace with that and being okay with that has been a newfound thing that is really working for me. Just being like, all right, let's keep it rolling. Like, we'll see what's next on this this journey of life.
I really like both of you guys' answers. I think there's some common threads there, but also one of the reasons that I wanted to, this is the first bit of programming that we're having the rest of the week for Mental Health Awareness Month. And for those of you watching tomorrow at Film House Friday, we're going to run a similar discussion with Emily and the community manager and head of artist partnerships at Backline, Tara Lopez, who's an artist in her own right. I think it's really important to have these conversations with a multitude of perspectives, right? Like these things, these interviews that I do are usually one-to-one. And I just think for me, it was really important to have a diversity of experience, much like the diversity of experience that one will have when thinking about mental health. It's such an individual thing. And it is constantly changing. It is constantly evolving. So I really, I appreciate you guys sharing that. Deeply personal. Hilary, thanks for spilling your own tea. Cause I was like, do I start my question by spilling some of Hilary's tea by accident or?
Like some of it is okay to spill, but like, what's not, right? I don't have to say that.
That's why I was just like, let me just tag Hilary in right now. So one thing that I find really interesting in chatting with all the wonderful people that I've sort of met, Emily, you being one of them in the past couple of months, and thinking about mental health is mental health caregivers are people that are generally looking for help themselves. How do you guys sort of like use your platforms? And I'll start with you, Hilary, just because Backline has become such a tremendous source for the music industry. And, Emily, we all work in the music industry here, right? Like our industry is so unique, for lack of a better. It's filled with people who are constantly giving to other people. And that's on both sides of the stage, right? Like that's as true for artist managers and touring managers and booking agents, et cetera, as it is for artists. We're constantly filling cups that aren't our own, which leaves very little for our own cups often. I know that Backline was sort of born of something really specific that we were all dealing with at the beginning of the pandemic. And the uniqueness of our community is that our industry is about being together and sharing together and networking and hugging each other and going to shows and experiencing life together. So when all of that stops, and you're sort of just like stuck in this house that you haven't seen for 3 fucking years because you're always on the road, shit gets weird and dark. And we lost a lot of people at the beginning of the pandemic because of that. A lot of creatives, a lot of really beautiful spirits that didn't have anywhere to put stuff. What about that? I mean, I think on its face, it's obvious, like that's inspirational enough, but like, what about that for you specifically was like, yo, I have to do something?
It's one of those things when, you know, the crisis knocked on my front door. And being sort of this nonprofit problem solver of sorts, like I was the one getting these calls out of grief, of what are we going to do? Why are people slipping through the cracks? You know, our friends that we were with yesterday are slipping away. And so like my number one thing that I have to remind myself of is like, it's an honor to serve, you know, it's an honor to be called upon in times of crisis. And so that's really the inspiration. Part of the inspiration is there's a lot of music out there that we're never going to hear. And that is, you know, if preventable, and if there's more music out there like that is going to be made and we can help it be made, we can help make happier, healthier people that are going to write it out instead of, you know, a different journey. Like that's the inspiration. But I've had to call on people in times of my own crisis. And so, you know, recognizing that I have found the support that's out there in the universe for me, and wanting to make sure that other people can find that safe place to land as well. That's a huge part of it.
And can you tell the folks watching just a little bit more about Backline and what resources are available? And also, like, if you could clarify, so like people see like available to anyone in the music industry, and somebody that like only has like 2 tracks on SoundCloud might be like, oh, that doesn't mean me, but like that's not true, right?
Right. So we intentionally created Backline with some of the largest eligibility requirements in the nonprofit for the music industry space. We want anybody who needs our services to like come to our well. You will not leave thirsty. Like that is the name of the game. So if you have 2 tracks on SoundCloud, A, bravo, I have 0. B, like, please come to us. If you need something, if you need like wellness help, you need help finding a therapist, like come through. Our eligibility is for anyone in the music industry. That means anybody, you know, generally who's making more than 50% of their income on music. That could be a bartender at a venue. That could be a security guard or tour bus driver, or photographer, as well as any of their family members. You know, this is really an ecosystem. So if your partner or sibling or whatever is not doing well and they can't find the resources that they need, that's our problem too. Because that's going to affect the way that you show up to work and to make music and to be a part of your music community. So it really is important to us that anybody that is connected to this can get help. And those resources look like our case management program, which is one-to-one individualized support. You go to our website and fill out a quick form with some of your information. You schedule a call with one of our case managers. All of them are licensed therapists. And we have a quick intake session with you where we say, where do you live? What are you dealing with? Do you have insurance? How much can you afford to pay? And we're able to then build you a customized care plan with one of our, you know, send you recommendations for a couple therapists in our network that offer sessions that are in your budget. We'll know which grants you're eligible for if that's something that you need. If you need local support, we can provide those resources. that individual care plan that you get through case management is built for you. And then your case manager is somebody that you can come back to at any time and say, hey, I reached a roadblock, or I'm ready to try couples counseling, or whatever else it might be. That person exists as your friend who understands the music industry, understands what you're looking for, and can confidentially work with you to build a plan. So that's really our bread and butter program. And the one that I think is really, really changing lives. We also offer virtual support groups. Those happen on Zoom every week, and that's a safe place to come in and talk about what it means to be in the music industry. We've had all sorts of conversations in there, particularly during the pandemic. You know, I don't know who I am without a show day. Or I'm really struggling, you know, to connect with my coworkers since we're not in the same place and we don't get to have, you know, a laugh or a wind down together. Like, these conversations can be hard to have with your friends and family that aren't in the music industry. And that's why we have these spaces where you can kind of say whatever it is that you're dealing with in this beautiful, wacky industry that we've all chosen to work in. And then we have a whole pillar of wellness programming, including free access to Emily's courses, as well as other subscription-based apps for yoga, breath work, gratitude, all sorts of different things, so that people can, you know, access those apps for free and get started on their wellness journey. And, you know, as we were talking about earlier, no one size fits all, even for you. So if you're feeling like you've reached a plateau, or you want to get started, or you feel like something's missing, like, having free access to those things is a really good thing. So you can just get started on trying different mediums and seeing what really resonates with you at this moment in time. So that's what Backline does. I think I answered your question, but I can't remember.
You did. Excuse me while I gather myself. So you guys, this is like, Hilary's one of my best friends in the world. It feels like I've known her all my life, and we're usually like carrying on. This is not our normal element at all. So like being in the profesh vibes right now, and then having her like show up profesh, I'm just sitting here like feeling sweet about it. So excuse me, everyone. Emily, tell me about your coursework. I know that they're free through Backline, but tell everybody what that entails, and what you really like to focus on or help people focus on.
Yeah, so basically the style of meditation that I learned is a style of meditation called Vedic meditation, which is similar to TM, or transcendental meditation. It was popularized by the Beatles. They're the ones that kind of brought it over from the West, along with one of their gurus. And it's since become quite popular in the US. And the style of meditation that I teach is a modernized version of that. So it's mantra based, which means that you use the help of a sound that you repeat in your mind, and it kind of settles the body and the mind below this kind of like crashing surface level of thought that we all live in a lot of the time, and into these deeper, more restful states, because we all have sort of these different levels of consciousness inside of us. We have this really heightened, excited state, and then we start to have all of these deeper, less excited, calmer, more restful states that we can access when we have the right tools. And so this course that I teach is basically a technique that allows us to do this, that allows us to get out of the analytical mind and into these deeper levels where creativity and new ideas are born from. And so over the course, it's 3 sessions. And over the 3 sessions, I basically teach you the technique, we practice it together, and then it's taught live. So there's a lot of feedback of experience and questions, sharing knowledge, sharing thoughts. And by the end of the 3 sessions, you'll have meditated 5 times with this technique. And so you leave just feeling really solid in your own practice. I teach you how to form a habit. I give a lot of the science behind how humans form habits. And so it enables you to really leave the course feeling confident in meditation, because I think that's the thing that's missing with meditation for a lot of people, is that we just feel kind of wary of it, kind of scared, like, am I doing this right? Do I suck at this? Why am I thinking I'm the worst meditator? We go through all these things. And so I think the main thing that students have when they leave the course is that they feel confident in the practice. They know they're doing it right. They know how to do it. And usually people start seeing benefits really quickly. So usually at the end of the 3 sessions, you started to feel some benefit. And then one of the best things about the course is that we really stay connected after. So I offer free one-to-one support. I offer free virtual group meditations where we all come back together and meditate together a couple times a month. And then you can also retake the course anytime. So you can sit back in, get a refresher, meet a new group of people. And it really just helps bring some community and some accountability to the practice, to feel like you're not alone. And when you meditate with other people, our brains and our hearts feel that. They've measured this sort of brain heart coherence amongst people as they're meditating together. And so it's also just a nice opportunity to have some connection, especially over COVID. It was just like so nice to be able to see other people come together, have this experience. And so teaching this is really one of my passions, because it's also you're self-sufficient. So especially for my music people, touring, flying, trains, planes, Ubers, wherever you find yourself, all you need is your own self and a place to sit down. And there's real power that comes from that, knowing that your phone could be dead and you don't need a teacher around. You don't need your special little pillow at home. All you need is yourself and a place to sit down, and you can drop into that place. And so the self-sufficiency is also what I love. It's like the teach a man to fish, you can be out there fishing on your own. And so that's really one of the main things I'm focused on. So I teach groups virtually. I teach it one-to-one privately. I also teach it at companies, and I teach teams of people how to meditate together. And then the other main thing outside of music that I'm really focused on is a company that I'm a partner in called The Big Quiet. And
I was waiting for you to flex. I was like, is she gonna say it? I don't
yeah,
think she is.
it's pretty cool because it actually is. It's a blend between meditation and music, which are my two great loves. So The Big Quiet, my partner Jesse Israel founded it in 2015, and it's basically this mass meditation movement that gathers people at very iconic locations across the U.S. for meditation and music experiences. It's kind of like a mix between a cool meditation class and like a Sofar Sounds experience put together. If I had to try to name it, we do them at Fenway Park, World Trade Center, the Museum of Natural History under the Big Blue Whale, the Hollywood Forever, the LA Public Library. You name it, we've kind of done one there, and we tour it nationally like a band. And what we found is that this blend of culture, being in this cultural institution that's significant to the city and meaningful to people, with wellness, introspection, meditation, breath work, and music and community and vulnerable sharing, this meld of things just really creates such a heart-opening experience. And so we've been really lucky to do them all across the country. We're going back on tour this fall. We've toured with Oprah. We've done events with Deepak Chopra. It's really been an amazing ride. So my work is really focused on those two areas. And then I also manage a little band called Big Gigantic.
Never heard of them.
Who do some cool things in the electronic space, and they're also kind of multi-genre. They just put out a hip hop track, Vin Staple with Vic Mensa and Mick Jenkins, and it's incredible. So those are kind of all my worlds, and I really feel very lucky to be able to dance amongst all of them and also have them combined. Like Jeremy Salkin from Big Gigantic took my meditation course. I'm doing breath work with people backstage at festivals. Like, they can all be interconnected, which is really cool.
So you guys just spent the last 20 or so minutes telling me how you fill everyone else's cups and how you prioritize the mental health of everyone around you. How do you do that for yourself, Hilary?
Well, I'm chomping at the bit to give my testimonial / hype woman of all things Emily. So I'm going to weave that into this.
Yeah, please do.
One of the ways that I've take care of myself now is meditation. And I've never said that before. I mean, until maybe this year, but that's become a huge practice for me. It's the only time that I'm still silent. One of my favorite things about the practice is that it doesn't involve my phone or any voices or any sort of like feedback at all. I am one of those people that really wants to throw my phone into the ocean at all times, but I also work on my phone and my computer, so I can't really do that. So meditation is sort of like my way of not having to do that. But also I have the joy now of having had some of my best friends and coworkers take the course as well. And so now it's like, if we're really struggling to figure something out, the brainstorming session is dry and stale. It's like, all right, everyone go like grab a quick meditation, come back, let's have this conversation at a different point. And that is like us putting mental health and wellness at the forefront of what we're doing, which I think is really important. When we originally started building Backline, like the process of building it put my mental health in the dumpster. I was like 18 hours a day on the computer, like, and I think in general, I've kind of treated my mental health like that. If I am acting in service of other people, then everything else goes on the back burner and I can sort of autopilot, like I'm totally fine because I'm acting in, service of this greater thing. And my board sat me down and was like, this is not sustainable. Like, you're not doing your best work. We see that you're working all the time, but when we ask you a hard question, you're almost in tears. Like I had no emotional resiliency. And so that became one of my words that I was focusing on 2020 to 2021 was resiliency and how to build that. And part of that is me building a schedule that includes time to walk, time to not have any feedback for like an hour in the morning. It's really important for me. Very much a privilege to be able to say that. I know those of us with kids cannot say that, but I really have built a schedule that works for me. And part of it is shutting the world out. And that's really, really important to me. But I must say the meditation this past year has really allowed me to practice resilience in a new way, and to really believe it. I think I was really afraid of sitting there by myself for a long time because I do have a dark side to me and I can go there really easily when I'm alone, with my thoughts. And so I was like, ooh, meditation seems good if like everything's good in there, but if everything is a little scary in there, then that's probably the last thing that I want to do. And it turns out that facing those things in the comfort of my own home and own brain is the work to build that resilience and to make everything else, out there, whether it's a deadline or a new experience or whatever, a little less scary. Cause it's like, well, I face it every day in my meditation. And that's, I think, something that I didn't really hear people talking about is like, hey, this is a way that you can like learn to be still with that stuff and to be okay with that stuff. And like, lose the shame that I think we all carry with us somewhere. So that's now one of my favorite meditation or mental health tricks. And my other thing is breath work has become my sort of quick reset. 90 seconds of breath work. I did one before I hopped on this Zoom, and it just like kind of helps me to go from one thing to the next. I now don't switch topics of meetings or whatever without grabbing a quick breath work in between, because it like helps me to be like, okay, bookend that into the next thing. And I feel more focused, more calm, all of those things. So those are my two things that I'm really into right now.
Emily, what about you?
I did not pay her to say that. Hilary, I love you. I feel like
you can pay me after.
I feel like a proud mom right now. Like, is this how parents feel? Oh my God, I feel amazing. I just feel so happy to hear that it's had that effect on you. It's what any teacher could only hope for. So for me, It's interesting. My sort of like self-care and fill my cup practices, I feel like for a long time have been sort of serious. Meditation can be serious, like you're sitting down, you're doing the practice. I'm like a big self-help book person. So it's like read all the books, get the articles, do the practices. And what I realized recently is like sometimes I just need like a break from like my healing journey, which I feel like I'm like always on. So it's like, okay, how can I like step outside of like doing the work all the time and just like enjoy myself? So my practices lately, which Lauren and I were talking about before, is one of them is like I've been doing just like some crazy dancing in my house, and just doing some just real funky moves in the morning that I would never want anyone to see, but doing them alone, I feel great. So that's been a big one. And I buy myself flowers once a week. It's just my tradition. I do it every Sunday. And I there's just something beautiful about it. They're not expensive. I mean, I live in New York, so they're not expensive. And it's sort of just like this weekly ritual where it's like I'm telling myself, like, I care about you. These are beautiful and these are for you. And I'm gonna give them to you. And so that's a big sort of mainstay in my self-care and my filling my cup. And then the last thing that as of late I've been doing is just reconnecting to friends and family, which I maintained throughout the pandemic, but not as much obviously in person. And so just really carving out time to spend quality time with people that I love has been a really big source of filling my own cup lately.
Very cool.
Can I
I'm gonna
say that
remind.
my therapist actually prescribed ecstatic dance to me?
Is that right?
Yeah. And that has also been a game changer for me. The act of sort of dancing any move that comes to mind or body is actually like expels trauma from your body. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
animals, like almost every animal in the animal kingdom shakes to like break that fight or flight response. And so many of us live in fight or flight, live in a very stressed capacity. And so ecstatic dance actually really breaks that cycle in your mind. And you get a little bit of endorphins, you get a good music going. So when I first started doing that, my therapist had me they just said, do one song a day. And now I'm like, I do like 3 songs.
Now you're like, get the playlist.
Like really have a playlist and I will go.
Like stuff gets so stuck inside of us, especially if we're like at computers, we're doing the things, we're doing the work. It's like, it's so trapped. Sometimes it's just like, oh my God, like I have to get this feeling out.
It sounds like I was like, okay, I don't know about that. And they were like, just do one song. And I swear, like instantly, you can kind of feel the shift inside. So
there's definite instant gratification in ecstatic dance, which is very academic of you, Hilltops.
Thank you.
Come ask the science.
But also like one of the things that I do, I think it's especially hard for this crew because like our passions are also how we make our livings. And that line gets fucking weird because it's like, where am I? Like, where am I? Who am I right in this moment? Am I work Hilary? Am I Hilary? Is there a difference anymore? And I personally try to like maintain my fandom first. I try to be a fan first. I always want to, if ever music stops making me feel the way it felt, such that I wanted to start doing this as a living, was like the day that I stop. So I always go to a live show and just like try to catch a vibe. And if I still feel like a 13-year-old kid, then I'm like, okay, everything's good. And a lot of that involves like dancing my face off, 100%. So thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. A reminder to the audience, I'm about to start taking questions here in a minute. Hello, Ren GM. I remember you from our last chat. Always an engaged audience member. We only have one question in the Q&A box here, and a reminder that I'm not going to check the chat. So if you have a question, make sure it's in the right place. Ren GM says, I've struggled. A manager came up and made me feel like it was my shot to accomplish my dream. But then some weird things left me thinking it wasn't all because of that. And I asked myself if I really don't have talent, or if I don't have what it takes and the industry is just like this, or if I'm capable of changing my whole life, my personal life, my family life. And this industry is that common.
I'll take the first crack at this. If you're not scared, you're not digging deep enough. I heard it a lot before I believed it. But I think, imposter syndrome means you're on the right track, means you are trying to level up. And that, for me at least, means that I'm on the right track. So all of the things that it sounds like you're feeling and have experienced means that you're digging somewhere deep. And like, that's really where the good stuff comes from, in my experience. It's worth, spending time with those feelings. It is common in this industry. But I think sort of like, what sets you apart? What are you building? What are you trying to put out there? Like, focusing on sort of the good parts of that. Are you capable of changing your whole life? Absolutely. I've done it time and time again. And I know Emily and Lauren both have too. Like, that is the process of life, is just changing it over and over again. So if, music and this industry is something that you really want to be in and believe in, like, it requires facing these questions over and over again and becoming comfortable with the scary, unsure, is this the right path kind of questions, because those mean that you're, on the cusp of it. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, to back up what Hilary said, Ren, one of my favorite sayings is, it's not brave if you're not scared. And then actually, I would love to dovetail into Emily's answer for this. Number one, because she's a manager. But number two, Hilary brought something up earlier in our chat about sort of like the fear of meditation that can come with knowing that there's some darkness in there, and how you go in there and actually confront the fear or the imposter syndrome or the abject depression or whatever else is in there that you don't want to see. Emily, what's your answer to this? Obviously too, but what's your answer to that?
Yeah. So one of the things I think about, people always say life is short, and I agree with that, but I also think life is long. Like, I think it's never too late to make a change or make a choice or choose a new path or reinvent yourself or go a different direction. It's not, it's never too late to go into music. It's, you read all these stories, people, 60 years old, started their first company, 75, became this world selling best author, so life is long, but also life is short. So it's like, what do you want to do with sort of this one precious life, is sort of this question that I think drives all of us. What is my purpose? How am I leaving my mark? What are the things that light me up? What makes me feel excited to wake up and go do these things? And if the answer to that is music and making music, then there's no other choice. That's the choice, if that's what you feel. And so I think that, what Hilary was saying about, facing the fears and the insecurities, I really agree with that. And I think that if you don't feel fearful or insecure or worried or stressed, the dream isn't big enough. So I think that practices that allow us to face some of those fears are really helpful. Meditation's a great one, because every day you face your own self-critical thoughts and learn how to not follow them down the rabbit hole. Also, there can be great work in sort of inner child healing and work. If you think, okay, this manager told me I wasn't good enough, this really triggered me. Okay, what are the other places in my life where people have told me I'm not good enough? How did it make me feel? How can I go back in time and, give that younger version of me some love and support and, choose a different narrative for that? So I think that there's a combination of practices that can be used, but I think that deep down, we all have sort of this like burning passion inside for something, and recognizing it and then bringing it to life is not easy. But if you've recognized that the one in you is music, then that's kind of like all you need to know. And the next step is just, okay, what are the actual sort of actionable steps I can take, the inspired action I can take to make this a reality. And good luck. Share your music with us, please.
Share your music with us, Ren. Ren is the most engaged Backstage Pass audience member of all time. I think Ren set a record for the last chat that we had with like, I think it was like 6 or 7 questions, and they just like kept going. I was like, fuck yeah, Ren, give them, baby, give them.
Yes.
So thank you, Ren. Thank you, Ren. You show up like a superhero for us here. So I know that you're more than capable of doing it for yourself. We have another question here from Marcellus Campo. How do you let go of comparison, especially to big acts? What mindfulness techniques or practices have helped you reconnect to your inner awesome, where comparison no longer screams louder than the love of the music industry?
I love that.
Love that.
Mars, by the way, is potentially, like Ren, one of the most engaged community members on Big Quiet.
Is that right?
Yeah. So Mars, I'm so glad you're here. This has been
Shout out to Mars.
Shout out to Mars, really. And Mars is a prolific writer and vocalist. So double shout out, Mars. You know, this really resonates with me because the past couple of years, as I've stepped into this role of teacher, you know, it's like every single thought is like, well, who am I to teach? Well, why does anyone care what I'm teaching? It's like it's just like the insane dribble just like comes into your face of all of these not good enough, self-criticism, comparing, blah, blah, blah. And for me, there are 2 practices that I've found to be the most helpful. The first is that I try to create more than I consume. And this is mostly when it comes to social media, because it can be really tough for me. And I can get kind of lost in the rabbit hole of just consumption. And it's something that I actively work on. But creating more than consuming, I find, allows me to get out my gifts and share my gifts without constantly comparing myself to what other people are sharing. So that's one that's really helped me. And then in terms of actual practices, I have found that naming my gifts has been really helpful. So I'll do a practice where I'll sit down and I'll close my eyes and I'll really bring to mind, almost like I'm watching a movie. It's like, I like to call it a gratitude movie. And I do it a lot for people in my life and things I'm grateful for. But then I also turn it towards myself. And I really try to bring to mind, situations where I felt like I was being really authentic, or interactions that I was really proud of, something that happened in my business that, I really worked at and it succeeded and I was really proud of myself, a meditation that I led that I just felt really impacted people. I'll just kind of like sit there and let all of these moments kind of like work their way up until they fill me more than whatever I was filled with before of comparison. Because, we spend so much time celebrating the people in our lives, celebrating others, and we so rarely turn that focus on ourselves. And so the more I think that we can celebrate ourselves and remind us of all the things that make us great when the criticism gets loud, to me has been really helpful.
That's awesome. Hilary, what about you? What do you think?
Quite a few things here come up for me. Number one is a saying that is, comparison is the thief of joy. And I really think that that's so true. One of them is similar to Emily's, is like focusing on self. And so what are you building? What are your goals? What are your desires? Because none of us are going to have the same community. Even my best friend and I have probably 97% the same community, but 3% different. So what is it that you are building? What is your community building? Who are the people that are helping you there? Connect with them. I do gratitude practices for things like, I'm so glad that I am awake today. I'm so glad I have water coming from the sink. I'm so glad I have legs to walk. Whatever those things are. And I think that also is really helpful, is just sort of like, hey, I'm the only person on the planet that is me. And therefore, whatever I'm building is going to be one of a kind. And I think that, recognizing that when you see something great, allow that to be celebrated without all of your shit on top of it. Like, celebrate it for what it is, and how awesome it is. And that also brings me a lot of joy, is like, check my stuff at the door and celebrate this masterpiece for what it is. And if that leads you to a thought pattern of, well, what am I building? Well, what am I creating? And you want to create more or do something bigger, awesome. But that masterpiece has nothing to do with you. So see it for the good in what it is. It can be inspiring. It can be motivating. It can, slap you upside the head. All good stuff. Your journey is separate. It can be influenced by that. But, letting them stand alone, I think, is really important.
Yeah,
Also,
Morris,
when you see
there's
something, oh, sorry.
No,
I was
go
just
ahead.
gonna say, when you see something that you admire or that you aspire to, it's proof that it exists, that it's possible. And so that's also really helpful for me. And I'm like, wow, I wish I could do that. And it's like, wait, I can do that. And that's just a thought pattern we have to switch ourselves back to.
All I have to add to that, Mars, is that there is only one Mars. And so anything that you do create is going to be uniquely yours, and that in and of itself is incredibly special and quite a lot more than nearly anyone else can say. So live in that if you can live in nothing else. Any other questions from anyone? If not, I have my own question, and then we're going to meditate. Oh, you're welcome, Mars. Oh, another question as well. Nikki Nakamura, I hope I pronounced that right. I live in Hawaii, where our indie music scene is still very infantile. We've had some breakthroughs recently, and that's been helping our underground scene gain more exposure. I pronounced Nikki's name right. Thank you very much. I needed that validation. With that being said, our local venue community still needs a lot of work. Over the pandemic, we had a local Me Too movement, and one of the island's main venues took a stand defending the predator, and the owner refused to take any accountability and went as far as recording a 20-minute video explaining his stance and posting to the venue's social media. That's gross. As a woman, local musician, and someone who used to work for the venue, I tried to reach out but was blacklisted. Now I'm banned from entering the space. That sucks too. I'm upset because it feels like I'm being punished for speaking up. Help. I'm just going to say, first and foremost, Nikki, this is the bravest possible. You will be right now, even as you're blacklisted. The stand that you took is the thing that will live on, not just for you, but for everyone in the community that needed it. The first one always gets the rock fucking thrown against her head. And that sucks for you. And I'm sorry about that. But we are all here today bearing witness and great pride at you taking a stand. And that in and of itself is tremendously admirable. And we all have your back on that. But I'll let the professionals answer the actual question there.
I've been blacklisted before.
Hilary loves getting blacklisted, actually.
I actually take pride in it at this point, because you're standing up for something that's important. And I think this is the kind of space where I can say, fuck the patriarchy. The fact that the venue owner feels like he has ground to stand on in that is, like you said, gross. Stand in your truth and take pride in that. And trust the process. Like, it feels uncomfortable now. It's certainly, I've been in that space of like, did I do the right thing? Speaking up and saying something, and now I'm blacklisted. Stand in that. Time will ease that. And the one thing that you have is your truth, and what you did when something got hard or you saw an injustice. And so it sounds like you're doing the right thing. And I know that time will illuminate that for you.
Yeah. Fuck that guy at the venue.
Fuck that guy at the fucking venue.
The fucking
Shitty
venue.
fucking
And
venue.
also, you know, maybe this is like a redirection. Maybe there's other venues. Maybe there's an outdoor, you know, show that you put together with other women who are saying, fuck that venue. You know, maybe there's some community that can be found around this. I don't know what is in the local scene in terms of other female musicians, or if there's maybe some sort of like community bonding and little movement that can happen around this, other people that also, you know, share your perspective and integrity around it. But it's, you know, when we look back on our lives, there are certain things that I think really matter. And I think one of them is being in integrity. And it sounds like that's what you were. And I think that's like what you have to hold, that although it's causing a situation in this present moment that is challenging, like at your core, to your depth, you know that you're a good person, you did the right thing, you stood up for what you believed in. That's more important than this venue, I think, because that'll stay with you your whole life.
Yeah, Nikki, I think that one of the like sort of cliches that become cliche for a reason is things happen for a reason. And I think that typically we like to assign that to good things, positive things, yeses. No's happen for a reason too. And actually, I've come to prefer the no's because you can always look back on a no that you felt shitty about at the time and say, fuck, thank God. So know that. And we're really proud of you. Fuck that guy, whoever you are. This will live on the internet forever. And on the record, this is what we have for you. And Nikki, we've got your back here at FemHouse. Everybody here has got your back. And I'm sure there's a ton of people in Hawaii that have also got your back. And I've no doubt that you will find them and galvanize them and build something beautiful. Hopefully a giant middle finger to that motherfucker. Fuck the patriarchy, said Nikki. Hearing all of this is healing my heart so much. Thank you for the support. With great pleasure. I am going to close off questions because we're here at the hour mark. But I have one final question of my own. And I ask it of everyone that I speak to. I'm going to put a little twist on it today. But Emily, what would you say to your younger self, specifically with regard to mental health?
I think I would say you're not unique in your struggle. Like you're not alone in this, and everything that you're feeling is okay. And even if you have thoughts of, you know, what a shitty person you are and how could you have done that and how could you be so messed up, and you know, the reel that plays, that you're not unique in it, and that most humans roaming this planet feel similarly, differently and similarly, and all of the different things. But that, I guess it's also cliche, but just like you're not alone in it. Like this struggle is not unique to you. It's part of the human experience. It's okay to feel what you're feeling. I think that's what I would say.
Very cool. Hilary, you're sitting down with 14-year-old you, let's say the afternoon after you've been declared depressed with sort of little to no, seems to me, holistic addressing of the actual situation at hand. What do you say?
I'd probably say you're so cute at 14. I would say give yourself the grace that you give other people. It's always been really easy for me to be like, oh, maybe they were having a bad day. And I didn't learn to say that to myself until very recently. And it's one of the most loving practices that we can give to ourselves, is to say, hey, maybe you were having a bad day or a bad moment, or maybe you're hungry or tired or drained. Maybe you really are in the depths of it. It's okay. You know, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Make the apologies that you need to make when you're ready to make them and move on. I think, practicing grace for yourself, it should be the first practice of every day. And I wish I knew that earlier. Now I just do it extra for myself, make up for lost time.
You do it for me too. I appreciate that. Ladies, thank you so much for your time and for being here and for sharing so much of yourselves, not just here today on this call, but every day of your lives and your existence with artists and community members and everyone that has the great privilege to cross your path. So I'm deeply grateful to have both of you in my life personally. And I know the community is deeply grateful for all the resources and knowledge that you shared here today. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And how about snaps for Lo, the master space holder?
I don't know about that, but I'll take it. I'll take it right now.
I'm really
Emily.
Yes, I'm so excited for this part. Can I do this intro?
I also really quickly just want to say that anyone who is watching this, obviously qualifies for Backline's, spots in the course. So if you are feeling the call or the curiosity to meditate or to potentially make it a part of your life, please check out the Backline. I think it's on social media, it's on their website, and come into the course through that route. And if you want to talk to me more about it, you can also ask me questions about it. But please use it as a resource if you think it will be helpful for you.
It's next week, right?
It's next week.
Do it.
Okay. May 16th to 18th in the evenings.
We're going to drop so many links on you guys that you'll think that your head fucking exploded. So don't worry about it if you're not catching the information right now. I think we might have some discount codes for you as well. I know for a fact that Hilary dropped the Backline link in the chat, but if you missed it, it's backline.care. And Emily's gonna leave us out here with a little bit of a guided meditation as introduced by Hilary Hilltops Gleason. Take it away.
Yes. Well, so today is my birthday, and I really only said yes.
Why you fuck that up? I was gonna do the whole happy birthday thing after the meditation.
Well, happy birthday to me. This is my gift to self, is spending time with y'all and getting to dip down into the sweet, sweet nectar of meditation with my meditation teacher and friend. And I'm really excited to do that with y'all. So Emily, take us away. I'm, as you can tell, very excited.
It's my absolute honor, a birthday meditation. And I know that we're a little bit over time, so we'll keep it short and sweet, but we'll get it in. So let's find a comfy seat. And if you are watching and you are not sitting comfortably, just change your position. We want to be supported. We want our body to feel really nice and supported. So back support, cozy seat. And once you have that seat, you can go ahead and close your eyes. So you can start by taking 3 deep breaths. So let's inhale deeply through our nose, filling up the belly and feeling the chest expand, and release. Another deep breath through the nose, filling up the belly, air flowing up into the chest, holding at the top, and release. Another deep breath through the nose, fresh oxygen filling up the belly, swirling up into the lungs, holding at the top, sipping in one more sip of air, and release. Letting the shoulders fall down the back. And you can let your breath just return to however feels most natural. In and out through the nose can feel relaxing. And what I'd like for you to do as you breathe in and out at your own pace is gently move your awareness from your toes, slowly up your body. And as you bring your attention up the body, I'd love for you to invite each part to relax. The toes, the ankles, the lower legs sinking deeper into the ground, the upper legs and the sits bones just growing heavy, the lower back and the spine, energy sort of slinking down the back, drawing you further down, the mid back, the upper back and the shoulders. Can you physically feel the shoulders come away from the ears, the shoulder blades creeping down the back? And can the tops of the shoulders and the neck start to soften? Each exhale, pulling your body further down into your seat, almost as if someone has placed a weighted blanket over your shoulders, allowing the stress and tension we hold there to start to dissipate. Moving up the neck to the jaw, unclenching the jaw, relaxing the face, unfurrowing the brow, and with your next exhale, just starting to picture a wave of calmness that starts at the top of the head and comes down over the entire body. And each inhale that you fill up with, picture this calmness filling the body. And each exhale comes down over the top of the head, gently relaxing each part of the body. And we'll do this 3 times. So we'll inhale deeply, this deep sense of peace and stillness filling the body. And exhale out this feeling of being settled, of being still. And inhale deeply, filling up with this stillness we've created. And exhaling out this blanket of peace coating every inch of our body. And one more time, deeply inhaling in, having gratitude for the stillness in our bodies. And exhaling it out, this curtain of peace draping over us. And again, just allowing the breath to return to whatever feels most natural. And we'll end our practice with my favorite mantra as of late. And we'll repeat it to ourselves a few times in our own minds. And the mantra is this: everything is always working out for me. Everything is always working out for me. the yeses as much as the nos, the successes as much as the roadblocks. Everything is always working out for me. So we'll start to slowly wiggle the fingers and the toes, the wrists and the ankles. We'll stretch the arms out to the side and up overhead if that feels good to you. Maybe rolling the head around the neck one way and then the other. And we'll take one last deep breath, our deepest breath of the day, in through the nose. Air flowing from the belly to the lungs, to the top of the chest, to your greatest capacity, as much oxygen as you can take in, holding at the top. And release. As you feel ready, you can open the eyes. And remember, everything is always working out for me. Thank you, everyone, for sitting, for your presence. I mean, great gratitude to you all.
New customer here, for sure. Hilary,
Emily, your
I love
new
you
mantra
deeply.
made me tear up just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's really a fire one. Like any moment of any day, everything is always working out for me.
It really is. My gratitude moment. Is that what you wanted me to do right now, Lo? Because it's happening either way. So grateful for this conversation. Emily, I'm not going to rehash everything I already said. You have changed my life. Lo, you have as well. And I think that is what I will leave everyone here with, is like, be open to that, because I'm 32 today. And I thought I had everything figured out. Then I met two people in the past year or so that have totally changed everything. So I'm very grateful, and I'm a little teary.
Hill, I'm so in awe of you. I'm so in awe of Backline and just like the person that you are in the world and what you give the world. And Lauren's so the same. I feel so lucky to be on this screen with the two of your faces and to know you and to learn from you and to be invited into both of your communities. So really my gratitude is just thank you for trusting me enough to come into your communities. I just feel, just filled up. The things you were saying, what fills your cup? This.
Me too.
Thank you.
I'm an ugly crier, so I'm going to keep it brief so that I can press this red in button. But I love you both tremendously. You've also changed my life. I think we've changed collectively today a few lives as well. And that is what fills my cup. Thank you for trusting me with your gifts and your hearts and your spirits. Hilary, you know what it is. I love you dearly, over the moon.
Happy birthday to Hilary.
Yay.
Have the happiest birthday. I can't wait to celebrate. We're going to Vegas.
The best party.
We're so lucky you're born.
I guess the second best party will be when we go to Vegas to see Silk Sonic next week.
Yes.
So if to that end, if we end up dead in each other's arms with smiles on our faces in the MGM casino, and this is the last time you see me on
We'll know where to
video,
look.
you'll know where to look. Thanks for coming to Backstage Pass. Tomorrow we have a wonderful pass the mic conversation with Emily and Tara, who is the head of community and artist partnerships at Backline. And that'll be fun. And we're gonna rave after, like usual. Big love, big hearts to all of you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.